Greetings now, as you may or may not be aware that most scholars believe that the Wasagula are the founders of Goshaland along the Juba River. Late in the 19th century, Egypt, Zanzibar, Italy, and Britain recognized this haven as an independent entity. Although other Gamma, autonomous communities, later existed in Goshaland, the Wasagula remained as an autonomous society with a distinct political structure. That is probably why the Goshaland people are generally known by the name of their founders, the Wasagula. Until the 1920s, the Bantu people of Goshaland were divided into 9 Gamma groups, which constituted the core of their confederation. They are Makale, Wamakua, Wamalema, Wasagula, Wagindo, Wanyamwezi, Wanyasa, Wanyika, and Wayao. Later, some of these groups were either assimilated into the indigenous Bantu of the Shabelle River or incorporated into other Somali clans such as Bermal, Gare, Jido, Shigal, and so on. The Somali Bantu who were slated for resettlement, especially those who fled the once forested Juba River Valley, are politely referred to as Wagosha, people of the forest, or jareer, term used to describe Africans with hard or kinky hair. Derogatory terms to describe the Somali Bantu include Adun and Habash, which translate as slave. Some Somalis also call the Bantu Uji, which in Italian means today, and refers to the Somalis' perception of the Bantu as lacking the ability to think beyond the moment. Although most countries which were heavily involved in the Arab slave trade in the Indian Ocean were aware of the Somali Bantu's existence in southern Somalia. However, almost every Somali government tried their best in concealing the Bantu people's history, language, and culture from existence in Somalia. It was the collapse of Siad Barre's regime that collaborated the long-existing and still ongoing discovery of racism and discrimination, which had caused untold suffering of the Somali Bantu/Jareer people. Prior to this discovery, the Somali Bantu societies were looked upon as societies that could have no history of their existence in Somalia, as this discovery only just took place about 4 decades ago from the rest of the world. Meanwhile, the Somali Bantus, as the rightful landowners in southern Somalia, still exist there for centuries, if not millenniums, till this very day. In fact, the whole of southern Somalia belongs to Somali Bantus. Hence, the criminalized war stance is in the southern part of Somalia, while all parts of the north are relatively peaceful and have advance. The war in the south is mainly a political endeavor to ethnically cleanse it from the Bantus. Otherwise, the Shabab regime is a tactical hostility which inevitably translates to a boycott of the area for many that call it home, as we have seen the same tactics being applied elsewhere around the world for the purpose of those behind the ordeal. Mainly because out the 246,000 square miles Somalia, only about 10% of this territory is arable and irrigable. Out of this arable land, an estimated 1,729,000 acres is cultivated, and most of this cultivated land is in Somali Bantu inhabited regions in the Juba and Shabelle River. The entire southern region's climate can be categorized as semi-arid. The Juba region is a fertile agricultural land mass stretching between the Kenyan border to the west and the Indian Ocean to the east. Unlike the Shabelle River, which usually dries up from January to March, the Juba River is permanent and is capable of irrigating about 150,000 hectares, 370,500 acres of land, particularly farmland, is one of the most important possessions in the river valley and its environs. Nevertheless, the Bantus were primarily heard at a conference in 1993. In their own words, as we recap, they said, "Since Somalia was founded, we have been and still are being discriminated against in Somalia both publicly and privately. We have been systematically alienated by every Somali regime on academics, politics, and economics, and often exploited as the cheapest labor force. We have been denied our Somali identity and human respect. We have been prejudged and categorized as adun, slave, and low-class humans who lack the capability of normal thinking and reasoning, which undermines our general competence and dignity. Humbly appreciate you tuning in. Thank you."